All right, I'm gonna get music. I'll be right back. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. Anyone else here? Okay, good. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. Woo! Hello, everybody. Welcome to my first. Oop, my phone. Hi. Welcome to my first Mystery Knit Along live chat about the book, but won't be staying with us too long because we will get demonetized. Actually, I will probably get demonetized anyway, so whatever. Hey, Lydia. Okay, I'm gonna put Bubby down. Say bye bye. I'm gonna play. He's gonna be playing next to me, and if he starts throwing a fit, then it's gonna be daddy time. Ready? Sorry. My office is a hot mess. So I hope y'all can't see. Been working on so many different projects. So like this mystery knit along has been helping me like so much with just like Zen knitting as I work on these projects. That's why like the back of my office is just like, you see all that clutter? You see that clutter? It's just been a mess. I'm really happy I was able to knit this shawl as like a de-stress knitting. And you know what? I'm not even done with my sample yet. No one judge me. I haven't finished my own mystery knit along shawl yet. I have not finished it. It's tested. You know, the design is tested. I just haven't done mine. Yeah, because I've been taking my sweet old time because this book has been capturing all my attention while I'm knitting. Like I got this version, and I also have the audio book that's read by Toni Morrison of The Bluest Eye. And oh my goodness, it has captured my attention. So y'all who like finished like knitting, yeah, y'all are already ahead of the game because I haven't even finished my knitting because oh honey, I have so much clutter. Everyone's hi. Yeah, my shirt. All right, my shirt. Hi honey. You see my bow? So, oh my goodness. Okay, I think it's safe to get started. We're 3 minutes in. What are y'all drinking? I have White Claw. I don't usually go for the White Claw. I'm just trying to be a touch less caloric with my adult beverages. And I don't really get to drink as much because I was breastfeeding, and now I'm not. So, freedom. No longer breastfeeding, just freedom. Able to eat what I want, drink what I want, and not to worry about being attached to a breast pump. Hello. Oh my gosh, I'm talking about all the stuff that like that YouTube hates, like breastfeeding, alcohol, my kids in the video. We're gonna talk about Toni Morrison, and there's a lot of like issues in the not issues, but like there's a lot of like things that YouTube might see as controversial in there. So if y'all are watching this live, this might be the only time you see it because YouTube might totally demonetize this video. But that's okay, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be so freaking fun. Okay. So this is my copy of The Bluest Eye. As you can see, it is like the oldest. It's from. Can y'all hear me, or is my son being too loud? Yeah. He was just being so quiet when I took him, and now he's like, "Ooh, I'm in mommy's office." In mommy's office. Yeah. Sorry. But anyway, so my copy of the book is so stinking old. Like it's Oprah's book club. Okay, like it's not the OG cover, but this copy has been through. I mean, I've read this book so many times. There's notes in here, there's scribbles in here. You know, I have a master's in English, and so like I did my thesis on this book, or rather, on a lot of Toni Morrison's body of work. So like this is like something that I absolutely positively love. I love that pose. He's just podcasting. He totally is just podcasting. And his shirt's covered in spit. That's just wonderful. He's 8 months. He is 8 months. You being so good? Oh, not the spit hand. Oh, not the spit hand. So my copy of the book is like so beloved. Oh. So, without further ado, let's get started with the book discussion. Let me get my White Claw sip sip. This is the mango flavor, by the way. It is so good. It is so flippin' good. Needs a touch more sugar, but you know, I'm trying to be healthy. Also, don't forget your knitting. I got my knitting. Y'all got yours. I got my Pecola shawl. You know, speaking of the Pecola shawl, I was trying to look up like where that name Pecola came from. For those who weren't reading the book with us, that's one of the main characters' name in the book. And it's a name that I've seen here and there, but I don't really know like where he is, like where this name is coming from, like any of the origin of the name of Pecola. I know that the last name, Pecola Breedlove's last name, Breedlove, is a very meaningful last name. We might get into that as we talk about the book some more. But I could not find anything about like Pecola on the internet or anywhere, like anywhere in Toni Morrison's other body of work or anything. So if y'all know what that name means, um, Imitation of Life movie. Yeah, like that was in her mom loved the movies before she. Thank you. Okay, so apparently Pecola comes from the Imitation of Life movies. I remember that from the book. I think was Maureen Peel mentioned that, and yeah, that's a. So it's just like a name. It's not like a meaning. Well, because Imitation of Life was about black women passing for white. Is that true? Something like that. I've never seen the movie, but I've heard of it before. So I wonder if that's where it comes from then. Thank you. We're going to have to look into that movie on my next Instagram post or blog post so I could really understand it better. Because when I was doing research for Pecola, I just could not find it anywhere. Okay, I'm so excited. All right. So I did the sloppiest, right? Oh, Five Elementary Knitter has a whole like she's explaining it. So if y'all reading the chat, she explained like where the name Pecola come from. Thank you. I butchered your name. I'm so sorry. I've only had one of these, and I swear I could read. So thank you. So anyway, she's explaining where that name Pecola comes from. It's from the movie Imitation of Life. So FYI, really good. So I made this little like chart. It's not meant for you to look at really. It's just something I did. And it's like I put Pecola's name and then I put all of the supporting characters around her. And those supporting characters include Frida, some of the girls in the book. It also includes Claudia, Frida's sister, Soaphead Church, people who were out of Pecola's family unit, whose stories were also told um, throughout the book. And, you know, I found it really, like, I absolutely loved how Toni Morrison, like, gave so much focus to these other characters and their backstories. You know, a lot of times in books, like, I'm a bit weird. I don't like character development that takes, like, an entire novel. Like, I just finished reading this really bad novel. Um, and it was like what you may call it, it was like all character development and all story development, and then the book ended, you know, like the book literally just ended after the development, and I have no idea what happened. Like I was like, where's the story? But like about Toni Morrison, it's like the character development is the story, like their background, everything that's happened to them in their past, even some minute details like Charlie's talking about opening up a watermelon, you know, at a get together, or drinking lemonade out of a mason jar. Like all these little bits of people's lives are actually meaningful and to their understanding of the understanding of the social, like the social, what's the word, the social like environment around them. I can't remember what it's called, like society around them. Like it's basically helps them um choose their I can't get it out, but essentially, they're little bits of life experiences explains how they react to how things happen in their world. So, for example, when Pecola, when that terrible, terrible thing happens to her, and she is just, like she is ruined. As Toni Morrison literally says, she's ruined. And the afterword that she adds to the book, The Bluest Eye, in case you're wondering, if you just came in, we're talking about the bluest eye. Yes, culture. Yes, so talk about the bluest eye. And in case she writes in her afterword that Pecola is essentially ruined. She is a ruined person. And it's interesting to see how the community responds to that. A lot, like, and the way that we see the community responding to that is through just bits and pieces of disembodied dialogue. Like, we never see the actual person talking about it. Like, we never really see like description, or we never see like a first person full on account of what happened to Pecola. Pecola was abused by her own father, in case you didn't get that far. Remember, there's spoilers all through this podcast. So, FYI, you're going to be spoiled if you haven't read, almost seen, if you haven't read the book. So, everyone's reaction was just like, like everyone's reaction was very, here, let me get it. I saved it. I saved the page. I saved the page. So, it's like everyone reacted as if it was like a novella, a TV novella, or like a soap opera, happening right in front of them. Like, everyone had to dehumanize Pecola in her story, so that way they can wrap their own head around it, and to make it easier for them to swallow. Like, they were making jokes, they were saying, oh, she asked for it, or they were saying like really mean things. And Pecola is 12 at this time in the book. I think it starts off when she's 11, and I think she turns 12 in the middle of the book. And this little section, I'm just going to read it out loud. I'm not Toni Morrison, so I cannot, my reading aloud skills aren't beautiful, so I'm sorry. But here it is. It goes, and this is talking about others people's reaction to Pecola's ruining of the molestation that happened. So they were disgusted, amused, shocked, outraged, or even excited by the story. But we listened for the one who would say, poor little girl, or poor baby. But there was only head wagging where those words should have been. We looked for eyes creased with concern, but saw only veils. I thought about the baby that everyone wanted dead, and saw it very clearly. I know it's so sad, Bo, I'm sorry. It was in a dark, wet place, its head covered with great O's of wool, the black face holding like nipples, and it just goes on describing what they imagined Pecola's baby would look like. But the whole like head wagging and talking as if this event isn't real, to me is, or rather not even to me, like, it's just how people react to horrific events, specifically black people in this time, in this day and age, and this story, and how it's just so horrific, it's just so terrible, that you just, in order to just keep going on with your own life, and the only way to cope with it is to just belittle it. And yet everyone in the town is just devastated for Pecola. And we learned this just because no one holds contact with her. Everyone acts like she's like the town's dirty little secret. That she's just like, I think Toni Morrison calls it waste, the town's waste, the town's trash, in another word. Um, and it's very, very tragic. Like, this story is just tragic, heartbreaking. I find it, dare I say, even more heartbreaking than Beloved, which is also a Toni Morrison book. And I prefer The Bluest Eye. I've said this to a few of y'all. I prefer The Bluest Eye way over Beloved, just because I love the rawness. As you're reading this book, if you haven't read it yet, and if you're just sticking around to hear a discussion, The Bluest Eye is a very raw, matter-of-fact book, because it is told from the story of young preteen girls. So girls who have yet to go through, like, adolescence or anything. Like, they're on the cusp of that. They're on the cusp of all this change. And so this story is told in a very matter of fact, very innocent way. And when children tell you a story, like you tend to just get it like black or white, like you get it, like you just like there's not a lot of conjecture, there's not a lot of what you might call it, like opinion in it. They just tell you the story as it is, better for worse. You got something to say? They tell you the story better for worse, and that's what makes this story the bluest eye. You want your passy? I'm sorry. That's what makes this story so horrifying. Yes, Beloved is also very raw too, Susan. Yeah, it is. Yeah. But I do find the bluest eye just so like pure in the fact that they're just little girls. And then you can tell that it's like a new author writing this, not in a bad way. It's just so condensed. Like a lot of authors like to give you time to breathe, you know, in between like these hard scenes. And in The Bluest Eye, you know, like when in that terrible scene that happens in the spring chapter, I believe. Is it spring? Yes. You hear him say mom? But there's this chapter, you know, like where the ruining of Pecola happens. And like right after that, it just cuts to like another scene as if nothing happened, as if it was a child telling you very matter of factly. Then this happened, and then that happened, and I really freaking like I just needed a moment to breathe. Like this book is, let me see how many pages. It's like it's right under. It's about 200 pages long. And it took me the whole reading period, so the whole like month or so, to really finish this book in both written and audio format. Just because I just had to take it really slow to really digest everything that's going on in here. Another thing that I want to point out. Ooh, let me take my son before he starts. Wanna hang out with Dada? Wanna hang out with Dada? Say hi, Bo. There you go.
There we go.
Oh, okay, just came out of nowhere.
Being loud.
He is being loud. Say bye, Jake.
Bye.
Bo got booted out of the podcasting room. He got bored. He's probably gonna go water the garden with Jake. But anyway, it's just like such like every time I read a page from this book, it's almost like, you know, like you're holding your breath underwater. It's just takes the air out of you. It's just so dense. Like she writes dense as in like thick, like everything happens like condensed. And that's just how Toni Morrison always writes like that. FYI, like Beloved is just like that. Beloved's a very short book. Song of Solomon is slightly longer. That's another book by Toni Morrison, and it's slightly less thick and condensed in its writing. But The Bluest Eye is almost as if she's like, look, this might be my only book that I get published, you know, like this is it. If this is it, I'm gonna go straight in with it and I'm gonna give it all I got. Like that's how I feel about The Bluest Eye. And it's just a wonderful like opening novel for an author. Like I love Toni. I do. I freaking love her. We're not on a first name basis, but I wish we were. I'm disappointed I never met her. I had a chance to go see her, I think in Ohio, and I just didn't feel like taking the, I think it was like a 10-hour drive from where I was living, and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't, I'm sorry, Toni. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And unfortunately, she has passed away now. But I'm going to be honest, I don't normally like first novels, like an author's first novel, just because there tends to be things they gotta work out, tends to be things they have to edit out. And this is possibly one of the best first novels I've ever read in my life. Like, gonna be really honest. change my mind in the comments if you have any others. Change my mind if any other first debut novels that you think is better. It's really hard to find. So one thing I want to talk about is the fun with Dick and Jane references. If you're listening to the audiobook, you might be very confused by the fun with Dick and Jane reference. If you never read the book, it's just this part. It's how Morrison opens a lot of her chapters. I think all. And she opens it by directly quoting this early reader book, and I can't remember what it's called, but I think it's called like Fun with Dick and Jane. Is that what it's called? The series. It's a series that they used way back when, like back in the 30s or 40s, and up until 50s and 60s. Like, 'cause my parents talk about this book, and it's an early reader book that helps um, that helps kids learn how to read in like first grade, second grade, what have you. But the book is like set up like an orange juice commercial. Like it's like here's the mother, and she's all smiling. Here's the father, and he's smiling, and there's the two kids, and they're beautiful, and it's just a big like a happy like white family. And if you're black and you're growing up and you're reading this book, the reason why I've heard about this book before Toni Morrison, because this book was before my time, the Fun with Dick and Jane books was before my time, was because I've heard a lot of adults, just black adults in my community, just complaining about it because they learn how to read by reading stories about people who did not look like them and their families. A lot of those books like were not popular back then, specifically widespread usage in schools. So when Toni Morrison uses the Fun with Dick and Jane, and I'm calling it that just for simplicity's sake, I think they're really called like early reader books or whatever. When she opens with that, she's really just saying like, look, this is what life is supposed to look like according to who, you know, like according to who. And these are what these kids are being exposed to. So it's interesting because here, you can even see it. See my copy. It starts off with like a regular paragraph. This is her quoting it. And then this is how it condensed. I'm reading the chat. I'm like, oh crap, did I forget to post where the discussion will be in my live stories? Sorry. Good thing you're here because I've got to post it. So yeah, it looks like really condensed. Oops, I forgot to post where I'm gonna be today. Oops, that's okay. I usually do when I go live, and my brain is apparently in White Claw hard seltzer land. Oh my gosh, why is that so good? It tastes like lemonade. Yeah, so it gets like really, really close up and really condensed. It's so freaking like eerie. And when I listen to the audiobook, I'm like, oh my gosh, like people are gonna miss this. Like people are gonna miss this like little uh like what this means, you know, because I was listening out loud, the audiobook out loud with my husband who's never read Toni Morrison in her entirety. And he was reading, he was listening, he was like, what is this part? Like, what does that mean? And that's just what it means. It's just breaking down what we perceive as normal and how we teach this normal normalness. I swear I have a degree in English. This normalness to like our children, you know, like how is that hindering their growth? How is that helping their growth? What happens when we break down this ideology? So like, any of y'all have like any like serious questions? Because no matter how many times I read this book, I have so many flippant questions. Like I'm always left with, but then what happened? Like, and then what happened like afterwards? Like for example, Soaphead Church. We get into Soaphead Church's life. He's a character that comes in almost at the very end of the novel, and he's the one that grants Pecola her wish for the bluest eye. And it's just like, and then his story ends. That's it. It reminds me of like a Greek tragedy. So it's like this person comes in, does their part, and as soon as their part's done, usually in a Greek tragedy or even just in Shakespeare in general, Shakespeare, which is not a tragedy but different, he's inspired by, and I'm gonna stop blubbering about that. But as soon as his part's over and he does what he's meant to do and changes the story, he just dips out. Like I don't even think Soaphead Church is really mentioned after that. That's what I thought too. Yes, I thought he was going to end his life. That was my thought. And then, but we never really got there. It was just so like I kept waiting and waiting and waiting. Okay, it's gonna end his life. And I've read this book maybe 3 or 4 times. And as I'm reading the book, I'm also reading commentary to go with it. That's just how I like to read. Um, and I was reading commentary about Soaphead Church before I even got to his part in the novel, and I'm just like, who? Like I've read this book so many times and I forgot he was even a character in the book. And I just find that so clever of Toni. Like this is not a bad thing. She's just explaining how people go in and out, like ebb in and out of your life. Like all these characters in your book, in this book, it's just someone might seem random, like the Sugar Brown Girl chapter. I can't remember. She's the character who owns the black cat. I can't remember her name. It's killing me. She owns the black cat. But this character, like they go into her entire like storyline, like what type of person she is, like what type of society she's a part of. And she's just enters the story and then just leaves the story and we never hear anything about it. And yet these pivotal points in which these seemingly minor characters enter and lead the story changes Pecola's life forever. Um, and it just shapes and shapes her overall tragedy. Um, it was like very like, you know, and sometimes like there are books where I'm like, oh man, what was the point of that character? Not in this book. All these characters, all these stories, in such a short book, and it just adds to it. It just adds to her experience. It makes it more realistic. As you're growing up from childhood to adulthood, you almost everyone has this thought process of man, people who just come in my life and out of my life. Like you start to realize this natural ebb and flow of relationships and life. And I love how Toni Morrison, brings this to life in the bluest eye, on top of adding the social commentary. It is just stunning. This book is ageless. I'm trying not to ramble because I'm running out of time. I have to eat dinner with my fam. But hold on, let me read the question. Do you think that's because it's from Frida? Yeah, yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. So someone was like, do you think it's because of it became from Frida and Claudia's point of view? Um, and yeah, like they just when you're reading something from a kid's point of view, it's just like it's just there. Like I don't know how to describe it. Like there's no opinion to go with it really. Like there's no analyzing, that's the word, there's no analyzing to go with what they saw really. I mean, there's some thought there, like they're like, oh, maybe it was because of this happened, or maybe because we didn't do this or that, but there's no real like analyzing or breaking down of what happened, just because they just see it for what it is. Like Pecola got pregnant and the baby passed away, like it's very black and white. And that's just what makes it even more tragic and real. Like there is no buffer for the reader. Like there is no like um there's nothing to like stop us from seeing the reality. So yeah, it's just fascinating. I'm trying to read I'm trying to read the thing as I'm going. The only thing about like when you do live, like the chats just go boo, 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 and I can't do it where I can see it, but then I get distracted. So I'm trying, hello, I'm trying to use technology as a very old soul. Well, anyway, guys, this has just been a really, really quick live of talking about the bluest eye. I want to do another live from Mr. Knit Along, and this time I'll tell you where I'm going to be. Okay, I promise. I promise I will. This was just super duper quick. I'm gonna go have dinner. My husband made fried rice, so I'm super excited. I'm gonna finish my drink, and I'll see y'all on Instagram. I'm still gonna be posting your Pecola shawls, and I won't do a book club every month. It's just a lot. I'll do it like with the season, kind of like how Toni Morrison separates her books with the seasons. And maybe we'll do another Toni Morrison book. Who knows? We might do something new, something I'm not quite familiar with yet. It's gonna be fun. So, without further ado, thank you for joining me, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye. I'm doing a hair flip.